NBA obviously has a very big gambling problem, and it really needs to get addressed at this point. And people have been talking about this for the past few years, honestly. Like the amount of gambling ads that we see on NBA product, the amount of gambling sponsorships, the amount of ad space that is pushed out for gambling sites like DraftKings, FanDuel, Underdog, Prize Picks, like all these different platforms push and promote the idea of gambling. They push and promote this idea of sports betting. That's like the new casino nowadays. It's an online casino where you could realistically, if you put enough time and dedication into it, you could blow an easy 10,000 within like a few weeks if you have it. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, bro. I fell for it, right? I'm low key a gambler. It all started with Prize Picks. I realized Prize Picks ain't shit, but I'm also not old enough to be on FanDuel yet. So I kind of just have to go with like an intermediate gambling platform. So I went with Underdog, which provides so much better benefits than Prize Picks. Like the amount of times where I would bet on Underdog and my bet would hit, and then I would bet the same thing on Prize Picks, but all the props will be different, and the entire point of Prize Picks is that they want you to lose. That's the whole point of this sports betting thing anyway. If you keep winning, if you find a way to keep winning, they're gonna try and like make it harder for you to win. The one go-to prop that I had was Joel Embiid having more than 10 free throws, and this was during his dominant 2023 season. Every game, I would bet the over on Joel Embiid's free throws, and it would hit. Randomly one day, after like it hit for 10, 15 straight games, they randomly just would not give me that prop anymore. But enough of my personal anecdotes. I have a personal issue with the way that the NBA has openly embraced sports betting and the drawbacks that it's having, right? Because if you haven't known, right, a lot of NBA players, well, not a lot, but there's been a few NBA players as of recent who have been exposed for betting on either their own props or just betting on the under for whatever. Like recently, Malik Beasley, out of all people, was exposed for allegedly betting the under on himself. And there are so many clips from this season and a few seasons in the past where Malik Beasley is just not trying defensively, or he's just purposely like missing a shot. Like, it just looks like he's just going out there and just selling, right? And we all know Malik Beasley is a very serviceable NBA player. Like, he is a decent, like, 12 points per game on a few good shots off the bench. Like, he's that type of player. Not really much of a defender, not really much of a passer. You know, he's mainly just a three-point shooter who can score occasionally. But the amount of evidence that they've racked up on this man is insane. First of all, he follows FanDuel on Instagram, which is ridiculous, right? He's not even trying to cover his tracks. Like, that's like robbing a store blind without any type of face covering at all. It's like you just want to be caught at that point. And then secondly, there are these clips going out there where he's just not even trying defensively. He just falls asleep, or he just lets a defender or lets the offensive player blow by him. There was even a few plays from the Pistons this year where Malik Beasley just straight up sold the play. Like in that series versus the Knicks, that last play, he just lost the ball. And it makes perfect sense to think that he probably bet the under on himself, because there's no other real explanation for that. A few other players who have been exposed for betting on themselves in this type of fashion is guys like Jontay Porter, who was banned for life, and Terry Rozier, who's, I don't think he's been confirmed to have been making bets on himself, but I do think that there's a chance that he was, because all the evidence for Terry Rozier goes all the way back to his time in Charlotte, and they've been tracing it all the way back since like the 2021-22 season, I believe, or the 22-23 season. But my thoughts on these people doing this is like, why? You know what I mean? Like, y'all already make enough money. You guys get $1 million contracts. Depending on how good you are, you're gonna get a sponsorship. You know, like, the money can't be that tight, you know what I mean? Like, Malik Beasley, I believe the Pistons signed him to, like, a $20 million contract for a few years. Like, he should be eating good right now. I don't know why you're out here, like, placing bets on yourself. Like, Jontay Porter, it kind of makes sense why he would, because at the end of the day, role players, or not even role players, but just like bench warmers, don't make that much money, and his spot in the NBA is not guaranteed. So I would understand from his perspective why he would do that. Plus, he had ties to like some like mobs or whatever. He owed money to like a mob. I don't know too much about that situation, but that's from the reports that I've heard. But like, is enough. Is like, do y'all not have enough money? Like, do these NBA players not make enough money? Like, it's the same thing like when LeBron is faced with the chance of getting a pay cut and he decides, you know what, I'm going to take 52 million and accept my player option. And it's just like, LeBron, you're a billionaire, bro. Like, you do not have enough money. And I used to be one of these people that would champion the idea of, go get your money, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. But in this situation, if these players are doing these bets, not only does it mess it up for the average person, because that's less money that's going to go to the average person if they win their bet on any of these betting platforms, because the money is going to an already millionaire. But also, what precedent does this set for the average NBA player? Like, do NBA players even want to win anymore? Like, does Malik Beasley want to win a championship? Does he have any aspirations of winning a championship, or just making as much money as possible? Because I understand, certain players, they view the NBA as a job. They'll play, really well in their contract year, and then they'll just go back down to earth when they get their contract. It makes perfect sense from that perspective. But also, it just angers me because it's like, bro, you guys are living the dream already. You're living an insane dream. You're in the NBA, you're like 6'3", 6'4". You're like top 1% of average men on earth, right? You make all this money, and you still want more. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, and another thing that needs to be talked about is the amount of control that these betting platforms have on sports. As a chronic sports bettor myself, even I know that at a certain point, like, I'm going to stop gambling. If I ever win it big in gambling, whether it be roulette or rain bet or blackjack, freaking stake betting, it doesn't matter. Like, if I ever make it big, that's when I'm done. Because the idea for me is gambling is just another opportunity at making money. Because I'm just the average person. I don't have insane amounts of money. I'm not making millions and millions of dollars every single year. I'm not in the NBA. I'm not in the NFL. It makes perfect sense for me to want to continue playing. But for these NBA players, it's just like, you don't need the money, man. And also, the other thing, I think the NBA needs to lay down the law even harder on these players if they actually are confirmed to be betting on themselves, right? So Jontay Porter, he got banned for life for the NBA. To me, I don't think that's enough, right? Well, obviously, there were certain circumstances in his situation, like he owed a lot of money, so he had to make a lot of money. But when you think about this, right, this is messing with the integrity of the NBA, right? People already think that the NBA is rigged for whatever reason, and the NBA doesn't need any more reason for people to believe that. Because if Malik Beasley is doing this, if Terry Rozier is doing this, what's stopping somebody like, I don't know, Chris Paul, or actually that's a bad example. What's stopping somebody like Bradley Beal or Devin Booker or, any high-profile player from doing something like this? Now, obviously, these players make significantly more money, but as we've seen, enough money is not enough to these people. And what happens if somebody who's very integral to the NBA, like a Steph Curry or a LeBron, were to ever get caught up with something like this? At that point, what would the NBA do? Because you can ban Jontay Porter and you'll be fine. You could even ban Malik Beasley and you'll be fine. Nobody's going out there tuning into NBA game just to see Malik Beasley unless they put a bet on him. That's just the sad truth. But is the precedent going to stay the same if it's somebody that is going to affect the NBA's bottom line? And as we all know, the alleged greatest basketball player of all time was a serial gambler. Imagine, I had this thought earlier today. Imagine if Michael Jordan was around today and he was playing today with the sports betting and all the prop bets and all these things, right? Because people already said Michael Jordan already had a bad gambling addiction. Imagine what he would have if Underdog was around, or if, FanDuel was around. Imagine the type of addiction that he would have. He would probably go broke. And at that point, he might end up being the greatest player of all time if he played in this era, because the amount of insane performances he would have to put up just to keep up with his finances would be insane. And I'm not one of these people that thinks that sports betting should be banned or thinks that the NBA shouldn't promote sports betting, but I think that the NBA is just doing way too much, right? Because to have all these ads for DraftKings, FanDuel, plastered on your product, and then to be surprised when your own players are betting on their own product, that shouldn't come as a surprise to you, you know? I think there should be less ads placed for these gambling sites, and I think there should be more caution when promoting this stuff, because gambling is a real addiction. It is a real problem that people have. People have lost millions. People have, sold their house, their car. People have like sold their wedding rings, things like that, very valuable things that took them years to obtain because they needed to pay off some debt, or they wanted to make one more bet. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very serious thing. And as far as Malik Beasley, if he's found guilty of this, I think he should serve minimum some sort of jail time, and on top of that, I think he should be, fined. I don't know how much he should be fined. Probably like he should pay back the amount of money that he wins or something in that effect, because the NBA needs to lay down the law on this. The NBA cannot tolerate players just being able to prop bets on themselves, and affect the integrity of the game. Like, that's just ridiculous. That's blasphemous. And it undermines the meritocracy and the integrity of the game, Because imagine if I'm Cade Cunningham and I'm like busting my ass just to try and get this Pistons team as far as I possibly can, and I have one guy who bets the under on himself, and I'm depending on this guy to hit his threes, and he airballs a three on purpose. Especially if it's in a big game like the playoffs, right? That cannot happen, But that'll be it for this video. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button down below. Let me know your thoughts on this whole Malik Beasley gambling situation. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? What do you think the penalty should be if he's found guilty? Subscribe for more videos, and I'm out. Peace.